Welcome to the Successful Real Estate Broker Podcast, where we learn about some success stories and some not so successful stories. But either way, we learn. Each episode, we talk with successful real estate agents and vendors about things they have done to make them successful and some things they did that you might want to avoid. Join us for each episode of the Successful Real Estate Broker Podcast with your host, Preston Sandlin.
All right, listeners or watchers, whenever you happen to be watching this, I got a good buddy of mine on here today. He is a real estate instructor, has a team out of Raleigh, and I'll just let him tell you, but he is a good dude, good instructor, just an entertaining guy, and captivating, keeps your attention. Mr. Brian Pate, how you doing today, Brian?
I'm good, buddy. How are you doing?
I'm good. Well, some people in North Carolina for sure, or maybe in wrestling or shag dancing, know who you are. But there are some listeners who don't know who Brian Pate is. So, Brian, tell us a little bit about you. We'd like to get to know you personally.
Sure. Let's see. There's so much to tell. I've been very fortunate to do a lot of different things in life, and grew up in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, and grew up on the shores, shag dancing, needless to say, and danced competitively for a long time. Went to college at the University of Oklahoma, walked on to play football with the Oklahoma Sooners. I was a place kicker when Barry Switzer and Keith Jackson and Jamel Holloway and all those guys were there, and didn't like being in the Midwest, so I came back home to figure out what I wanted to do, and I had been DJing. I started my first business when I was about 14 years old as a DJ company, and decided that that's what I wanted to do. I really wanted to be a rock star, but if you heard me sing, you'd know why I was a DJ. So
yeah, that's a problem for me too.
Yeah, so if I start singing Dogs All Over North Carolina, I'll be like, what's that noise? So, but I stayed in the DJ business up until 2014, but long before that, I was licensed in 1993. For those folks from North Carolina out there, you probably know the name George Bell. George Bell was my pre-license instructor, and I took the class before there was any agency law in North Carolina, so that'll tell you how long ago it was. Wow. So my class was about 2 weeks long with George, and I walked up to him at the end of it, and I said, I think I can do your job. And about a year and a half later, he had me substitute for him at the Fonville Morrissey Real Estate School, and the rest is history for my teaching. And I've had a sales career where the teams that I've managed have sold over $1 billion in real estate all totaled. So I've had my hands in a lot of different things. I have a small team. I had a large team up until a year ago. I now have one buyer's agent working with me, and then I have my mortgage lender partner and my inspection partners, and that's about it. And so the whole key for me is I narrowed down. In order to make my business big, I made my focus smaller. For those of you that have ever heard of Brian Buffini, that's where that one comes from. And it's made a huge difference in my career. I'm working less than I ever have before, and the good Lord looking out for me, I'm making more than I ever had before and more profitable. So I'm trying to teach people these days how I did that, because I think a lot of real estate theories these days are that you have to have a big team in order to make the big money. And I've done that. I've proven that I can be one of the top 25 teams in the Triangle area, in the Triangle MLS. We did in excess of 30 million a couple years in a row. And I just didn't enjoy running a large team, and it wasn't my cup of tea. So I went back to worrying about myself. And we'll probably talk about some of that later, I'm guessing, in some of the questions that you sent me. So we'll hit those later.
Sure. Well, I learned the hard way. It isn't how much you make; it's how much you can keep.
You bet. And a lot of agents don't understand all of the opportunities that are out there. If you're a S corporation or an LLC and you don't have a SEP account, you are missing the boat. Because every dollar you make, you can put 25 cents into that account, and the check's written directly from your firm, and it comes off of your taxes at the end of the year. It's just a great opportunity, especially if you're one of those top producing agents that's making in excess of $190,000 a year, and you can't donate to a Roth IRA or a simple IRA. you can only get 12 or 13,000 a year in there. But if you're making $200,000 a year gross in the real estate business, you can put 50 grand a year back and have a nice retirement set up in just 10 or 12 years.
Awesome. Well, I want to back up just a little bit there on your background, because I know you and I, we were on a CE cruise. Brian was teaching, so I got to know Brian a little bit. I knew him before that too, but got to know him.
I was told I had a great time on that cruise. Did we have fun?
Yeah, that was back before COVID. Man, I saw some pictures popped up the other day.
Yeah, like, no good story ever started with I was sitting in front of my computer and.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I know that we're roughly the same age, so I'm doing some calculations here. Were you at Oklahoma when the Boz was there, or in that time frame? I played football, and I dyed my hair, man. I wanted to be the Boz.
Yeah, I was the year after Bosworth. So
okay.
when he wore his shirt that said National Communists Against Athletes in the Orange Bowl, that was the Orange Bowl of 1987. Yeah, and I was there in the fall of 1987. So I tell everybody I'm the reason the University of Oklahoma got put on probation, because it was the season that I was there that we got put on probation for.
Oh,
I was there when Buster Rhymes, the running back, not the rapper, for those of you that are younger, Buster Rhymes shot the gun in Wilkinson House, and Charles Thompson got arrested for dealing cocaine and things like that. Unfortunately, that was the circle I ran in, but it makes me sound a lot more dangerous than I really was.
That was a wild. They were awesome program back then, and when I played, I remember in ninth grade, I played football. We had a big poster. The best running back of the time, Marcus Dupree. Do you remember him? Marcus Dupree. And it's so sad, man, what happened to that guy. And did you see that 30 for 30, the best that never was?
It was outstanding. Marcus was 250 pounds of gazelle running when he got to speed, and he had a glide that he had a glide that not a lot of players had. Billy Sims and Barry Sanders are the only other two open field runners that I've ever seen do that. And of course, Billy went to Oklahoma also, and then Barry Sanders from Oklahoma State, who was always one of my favorite players, played for the Detroit Lions for his whole career. So not that I'm a sports guy at all.
No, not me either. But man, I love Marcus Dupree. I'm a football guy too, man. I like the Boz. I know he got drug into the end zone by Bo, but that was one play. I mean, come on. People give him a hard time.
I think he got drug into the end zone. I think that's called getting steamrolled. Watch that play.
Well, Bo Jackson is a beast too. But you play ball. I mean, a lot of it too happens to be like you're in the wrong spot. Your leverage isn't just right. You can look bad on a play.
That's right.
Because you get your leverage. Sometimes it's not mano a mano. Sometimes it's like you're a half step. Not got the leverage that you should have, and the other person does, and can blow you up. But
exactly, I played basketball in high school and was at Socastee High School in Myrtle Beach, and every Christmas we held the Beach Ball Classic, which is 16 of the top teams from the country that come in. And at the time, we had two teams coming in that year. We had one from DeMatha Catholic High School in Hyattsville, Maryland. And they had a guy named Danny Ferry playing for them who ended up at Duke University. And I think he's now an executive with the Cleveland Cavaliers, if I remember correctly.
He did okay.
Danny was 6'11", and then the team that they played against in the final game of the tournament was a team called Archbishop Malloy out of New York City. And they had this young man that was a sophomore named Kenny Anderson. Kenny Anderson ended up playing at Georgia Tech. And we played in a charity game where Danny Ferry, I played on a team. It was a bunch of people from the area that were playing together. My job was to guard Kenny Anderson, and I fouled out in the third quarter, and he had already hung 51 points on me. So that's why you don't see me playing basketball.
Nice. Well, I know this guy is a better real estate instructor than he is basketball player, because I've actually witnessed
no
that.
Question.
Tell us a little bit about your classes, Brian. What do you offer? And I know you're doing a lot of online now, and this will go out to a lot of North Carolina and South Carolina agents. Tell us a little bit about what you do. I'll definitely tell you, guy keeps you captivated. I mean, he's got stories, and it's just it's not going to be a boring class. Tell us a little bit about your classes. What's the most popular one?
Sure.
Why should we take your class, Brian?
Well, I like to use the words of other people that have taken my classes. And one of the highest compliments I ever received was from a fellow instructor who said my classes were basically edutainment. You know, you get in there. I am a Bill Gallagher disciple. I've known Bill for almost 25 years, and everybody laughs at me because I do my Bill Gallagher impression. I put my hands on my hips. Y'all sit back, take a sip of something. We're gonna talk up, talk out, things like that. But Bill's watching Bill and him being my mentor for so many years, and then another guy named Lynn Elder that was big in my career that taught me how to write classes and how to break things down. And I think what the advantage that I have over a lot of other instructors is that I'm still in the business. So I'm still in the weeds every day. You know, I'm one of those people that's applied for the Paycheck Prevention Program loan. I've been through that process. I was fortunate enough to get my money in the first go around. I've been very fortunate to.
But
yeah,
I've
been very
fingers crossed.
Yeah, it's a tough one. It's a tough one, but I've been very fortunate over the years to be connected with a lot of very good people and a lot of very good instructors, not only here in the Raleigh-Durham area, but across the state and across the Southeast and eventually across the country. And so I attend classes about 50 days a year in order to watch other instructors teach. And so I pick up little pieces from different folks and I put those into effect. You know, Lynn Elder is one of the ones I use a ton of video in my classes. I don't think people want to sit there and listen to me pontificate for 4 hours. And there are a lot of instructors that will just sit there and read to you, for example, in a class. I can't stand that. I absolutely hated school. I despised elementary, middle school, high school, college. I despised it. But when I enjoyed something, there was always an entertaining speaker or instructor. One of the first moments that I learned that I wanted to be a public speaker, I got to see a guy named Louis Grizzard, who was
I remember Louis, the Southern.
Louis he used to write for the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, and he was one of my father's favorite columnists. Daddy was in the newspaper. I come from 4 generations of the newspaper business, so I read columns instead of books. You know, most of the other kids were reading, you know, War and Peace and All Creatures Great and Small and stuff like that. Well, I breezed through those so I could get to the newspaper every morning. I'd spend an hour and a half reading the newspaper because I'd read it cover to cover every day. And Grizzard told a story once, and I remember the audience laughing at it. And you got to understand, Louis he's from Atlanta, Georgia, and he's got a big old Southern drawl. And he says, y'all, I took a friend of mine to University of Georgia football game in the beautiful, godly town of Athens, Georgia. And I took him to the football stadium, and we got ourselves a drink, and we sat down at our beautiful seats with 60,000 of my closest friends. And all of a sudden, here comes Ugga. For those of you that don't know, Ugga is a beautiful bulldog that is the mascot of the University of Georgia, because they are the Georgia Bulldogs. And after all, I am bulldog born, I'm bulldog bred. When I die, I'll be bulldog dead. And he says, and the football team came out on the field led by Ugga. And Ugga went out to the 50-yard line, and he stopped and he sat down and he began to lick himself where dogs lick themselves. My buddy looked at me and says, boy, I wish I could do that. And I looked at him and I said, that dog would bite you. And when he said that, I lost it. And the whole audience was dying laughing. And I was like, you know, I'd love to.
Hello, I'm Bill Gallagher with Superior School of Real Estate, and I'm here with Preston Sandlin of Home Inspection Carolina. Preston, I've always liked your style, especially those pants, and also I've been interested in the home inspection business for a long time.
Well, Bill, that's ironic. I've always admired your style, and I've always admired your ability to educate these fine folks for sometimes 4-8 hours a day. I wish that I could do what you do.
Hey Preston, wouldn't it be cool if we switched? Preston, we sure got what we wished for, buddy.
We sure did. And now that you're the expert, Bill, I mean, you are wearing the pants. And I'm the instructor and the educator. Tell us what Home Inspection Carolina is doing these days to make the home buying process easier for realtors and home buyers.
Well, Preston, all our home inspection reports now are online for the real estate agent and the client to review the report online and to be able to create a repair list basically online by either clicking repair, accept, monetary compensation, and once they prepare the request, they can then press email, text, or print right then.
You mean it's all automated, Bill?
Absolutely, we are high tech.
Wow. What else is Home Inspection Carolina doing different these days?
Well, Preston, we're training our home inspectors to be non-alarmist. We are training them to put things into perspective and to simplify the message for the homeowner.
Non-alarmist is key, Bill. You remember those days of the 100-page reports and those 3-ring binders that would just go on and on and on, la 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 la. Thank you for being a good non-alarmist.
And Preston, one more thing. We fix the small stuff for free. Do you remember when home inspectors always put those little nitpicky items on those reports?
Oh, bless their hearts.
Well, at Home Inspection Carolina, if we can fix it in 5 minutes or less, we do it for free. We're better with a caulk gun than a keyboard any day. We just fix it.
You mean there's no cost for this, Bill?
Preston, it's free.
Wow.
Well, Preston, these pants really are a catch.
Well, Bill, I've enjoyed wearing the suit, but I don't think I could wear it every day because I got to fix the small stuff for free, and I don't want to ruin a good suit.
Preston, it's been a lot of fun flipping the switch.
Are you back?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, you froze. I got the punchline on the Oga, and the dog had probably, and then you froze after that, and then disappeared.
There was some kind of explosion. I guess they're blasting for construction somewhere near me, and it just shut down everything.
Oh wow! It's a good thing though. I can splice it, edit it, the video in the thing.
I'm sorry about that. I'm not sure what the hell's going on. I had no idea they were doing anything out here. I'd have given you a warning.
No. Well, believe me, every time I get on a Zoom, they decide to mow my neighbor's yard every day, I think.
Exactly.
And then, of course.
So where were we? I know I told the Louis Grizzard story.
Yeah, that the dog will beat you up. That kind of sounds like have you ever heard the Andy Griffin's Football is what it was?
Yes.
Where,
he's football. Got me a big old orange.
Yeah, where he's coming from the woods and, you got to realize this was probably 1950s and he'd never seen it.
Yep.
And I just remember the punchline is he's watching it and he couldn't figure it out. And he says, the thing I figured out is one of them fellas tries to grab that blown up football from one end of the field to the other without getting knocked down or stepping in something.
Exactly.
Or that cow pasture.
Exactly. There you go.
Awesome.
All right. So pick me back up with a question and we'll go from there, bud.
Sure. Well, you mentioned coaching. You mentioned Brian Buffini. What, a lot of agents listen to this. Some are into coaching, some aren't. Just curious to what your opinions on coaching is.
So I've had multiple coaches throughout my career. I've had Grant Cardone. I've been through that coaching program. I've been through the Buffini coaching program. I was actually a coach for the Buffini program for a while and did both 100 Days to Greatness and Peak Producers, both of those systems, and actually spoke with Brian a couple of times when he would come through Richmond and would do some breakout sessions with the attendees there. And then I've had personal coaches for my business. I've had life coaches, but these days what I enjoy more than the coaching is the camaraderie of other agents across the country. I've got about a dozen people across the country. We meet weekly, either on a conference call or these days on a Zoom call, in order to talk about what's going on in our different markets. They're a lot like me. I'm a huge stats guy. I believe that the numbers don't lie to us. I believe it tells us what's going on. If it's kind of like the coronavirus thing that's going on right now. If you look at the Chinese real estate market, the coronavirus stuff started over there mid-November, and at the end of March, they were back up to speed, which tells me with everything happening here, and I know that they're saying that's positive back in January. I believe the majority of people started recognizing it in February. So if you look at that, or am I still here? I'm getting a connection unstable again. Am I good?
Yeah, you're good now. It got a little funky there for a minute, but
Okay.
you're good. You're good.
I'll just pause if I see that happen again. I'm not sure what's going on. They must be doing work in my neighborhood. But anyway, with the coronavirus, you look at that, the Chinese real estate market returned to normal at the end of March with their normal number of transactions. And we've seen that continue through the month of April. Here in the United States, we figured out what was going on in about February. So the worst case scenario, you take March 1st, there you go, March, April, May, June, July, our market will return to normal. That's what the numbers tell us. Now, a lot of that has to do with how willing people are to stay at home. You know, there's a lot of people that say that we should be reopening, and I think we need to be careful about doing that too much, but I think it's also the responsibility of each person to take care of themselves in a way that they see fit. And remember that it's not just about who you're coming in contact with, but who you're passing off contact with, because it's kind of like the old Kevin Bacon's 7 degrees of Kevin Bacon that we did, where everybody could track themselves to Kevin Bacon in only 7
that's
steps.
a good analogy.
And when things like that happen, you don't realize how many people you're touching every day. You know, if you want to know how things spread, put some glitter on your car seat when you sit down in your car and watch where glitter gets left throughout the day, and you'll see how a virus spreads.
I got a funny story about that too. We went to New York a couple of years ago, and the kids and I wanted to get on the Today Show. You know how you can stand outside the thing? And it was one of my kids' birthday. I can't remember which one. It must have been Sarah Margaret's, because it's November. And so anyway, we were going to make a sign, right? You know, hoping they'd come over. And they did, actually. They did. We're on TV. I got it. But the moral of the story is we took our stuff to make the sign, including glitter, and it exploded in the suitcase. So everything had glitter on it. And for months, I was finding glitter. I was in a business meeting, and I got like glitter around my eyes. Like, people were looking at me like, I know you wear the fancy
makes you look
pants,
like you went to the strip club if you're not careful.
Yeah, you've expanded beyond the fancy pants now.
There you go.
Well, Brian, what's the best real estate advice anybody ever gave you?
Well, the best one's very simple. It comes from Tommy Fonville. That's one of the owners of Fonville Morrissey in Raleigh. And Tommy told me about 3 years into my career, I was up at the corporate office teaching one day, and I ran into him in the hallway. And I was telling him what my experience was and how I was frustrated that I hadn't been able to get some closings taken care of. And he put his arm around me and he says, Brian, you need to remember, this is a people business. If you take care of the people, the money will take care of itself. And I've refocused myself since then on taking care of people and creating the relationships for the long-term business opportunities, so that, you know, it's not just a single transaction you're doing. If you take care of people the right way, that first time home buyer at age 25 will use you again to buy their second home and sell their first one at age 32 to 35. And then again in their 40s, after their kids have moved out and gone to college, they'll use you to buy down and that kind of thing. And it's really, based on the averages, if we do it correctly, we're from 7 to 10 transactions per person. If you work with somebody as a first-time home buyer, if you take care of them and become friends with them, and you just have to take an interest in them and not just the interest in the paycheck. And that's what I think a lot of realtors have the reputation of doing that. And, there are some, especially inexperienced younger agents that don't understand how valuable your database is and how working your database and how important that is. So I think that's where some of them get lost, and they get in a position where they don't have enough of a pipeline of business. And all of a sudden they lose a closing, and now they have zero income for a month and they're stuck. And those are the ones, especially right now with the COVID-19 and the stay-at-home stuff that we're dealing with, those are the ones that are in the toughest situations.
All right, Brian, your best, I'm sure you've had this. Mr. Pate, I'm a seller.
Okay.
I've listened to you and 2 other presentations. I really like what you have to say. I'm a little concerned, though. Why should I pay you 3%? That seems like a lot. Why should I pay you 3% to sell my house?
Well, you're not actually paying me 3%. You're paying me 4% because my fee is 7%, and I pay out 3% to the buy side. And the reason you're doing that is because you're buying quality, not quantity. So that anybody can come in and sell your house and tell you that it's worth $20,000 more than it's worth in order to get their sign in the front yard, and then beat you up to lower the price later. What our information shows you is that we are 30% better than the time on the market, both average and median in the Triangle marketplace, which means that you're saving 2 months of mortgage payments with us. You're saving a lot of expenses that other people will do because our median time on the market is only 7 days. And that runs through all price ranges, whether it's from $250,000 to $750,000. And the way that we market is the way that everybody else has adjusted their marketing to do what we've always done. I've been doing the 3D tours and the live videos and all of and the upgraded picture packages. I've been doing that for 7 years, and everybody else is just finally catching up with us.
Awesome. Well, and obviously the question was to overcome that objection. What's your
absolutely.
A lot of people get it. Let me ask you this. I sponsor a lot of new real estate agents coming into the market, and I've been doing this 20 some years like you. And, I know almost, out of a group of 100 realtors, I'm like, there'll be a couple in here that'll still be here. But, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, what separates the agents in your mind? What do the agents that are successful? And I know some people be like, well, he may be successful, but he's on his fourth wife or something. I don't mean the whole personal and all that stuff, but some agents do well and consistently do well, and some kind of wash out. What do you think? I mean, I know it's a lot of things, but what would you say are the key ingredients to not washing out and doing well in this business?
I've changed locations, man. I'm not sure what's going on.
You sound a lot better. You sound a lot better here.
I haven't had this much trouble with my systems in a while. I apologize.
No, it's all good.
All right, so, you get to see my nasty ass kitchen that's been...
Oh man, looks good. I'm enjoying your pictures and stuff. All right, so picking up with that, what some agents wash out and some do well. What's the key ingredients to not washing out and doing well?
Well, there's a lot of things that happen. Number one, most agents, when we look at the national numbers, 3 out of 10 agents that start in the business will still be in it at the end of the first year. That's a 7 in 10 washout rate.
Right.
And a lot of times what we see is the agents that begin selling while they're in their pre-licensing classes, those are the ones that do the best. It's kind of funny. I've always thought it was hilarious when I was teaching and training, and we'd sit there in pre-licensing class and they'd be telling the whole world that they were getting their real estate license. Hey, I'm getting my real estate license. Hey, if you know anybody that's buying a house or selling a house, tell them to wait until I get my real estate license. Then they get the real estate license. They've passed the state exam. They come into training on day one, and we say, okay, pick up your phone and call everybody that you know and tell them you're in the real estate business and ask them if they want to buy or sell a home. Then they look at the trainer and they go, well, I don't want to be pushy. It's like, you were already pushy, for crying out loud. What's stopping you now? I think a lot of people get very nervous that they are now a salesperson. And I think that bothers people because they equate that to, the phone call in the middle of dinner with, hey, what do I have to do to put you in, what do I do to put you in this car today? And that's just not sales today. It's not that kind of selling that's being done. Real estate agents are educators these days. And we all have to learn how to teach people and give them enough information that they can make a decision on their own. The key is to give them the opportunity to make an educated decision.
Love it. All right. It's going to start getting a little bit fun now. Get winding down.
All right.
Tell me the craziest and protect, you might have to change names or to protect the innocent or guilty. What's the craziest real estate story or something that's ever happened to you or somebody within your firm or something? And you're my third interview. I've had 2 doozies.
Okay. So I've got 2. I'll give you one from teaching and I'll give you one from selling.
Okay.
So I went to show a house one day. We'll just say that it was in a very affluent area of North Raleigh.
Okay.
And you had to give, back in those days, the market was moving very quickly, and we would literally make an appointment 30 minutes before we actually showed the house. So people had to be ready to get out. And I called and made an appointment. And back in those days, they would just leave a message on your answering machine and say, hey, there's an agent that's going to show your house today between 1 and 2 o'clock. And we would knock on the door and ring the doorbell and, make sure that nobody was there and do our best.
Right.
But I'd been showing this. It was about a 5,500 square foot house, gorgeous house. And we'd been through the entire first floor. We go upstairs to look at it. We go in a couple of other rooms, and I'm not hearing anything. But all of a sudden, we open up the master bedroom, and there are 2 teenagers in the master bedroom, and let's just say they are actively pursuing non-social distancing.
That's a good. I was a little worried there for a second, like. Oh.
And I'm not sure who was more embarrassed, me or them. And I think they were more worried that I was going to tell their parents what was going on than anything else. But that one was quite interesting. Teaching. There's a part in the teaching where we're talking about fixtures. There's a total circumstances test. For those of you that have been in the business for a while, you might remember the acronym CHAIR. Others might remember the acronym IRMA. And what they are is basically the character of attachment. Is what's the intent and what's the relationship to the property, et cetera. Well, I was reviewing for a final exam. This is a pre-licensing class of about 60 students. And I told them, I said, so remember, the value of the item doesn't matter and size doesn't matter. So value doesn't matter and size doesn't matter. And as soon as I said size doesn't matter, I had a young lady named Tracy from the back of the room that screams, I'll be damned it does. And just to say, the whole class started laughing. Well, I'm only 5 minutes into the review, and I just lost it. My face turned as red as my shirt is today. We had to take a 15-minute break just so everybody could stop laughing, and it still took us another 5 to 7 minutes to actually get back into class. So I still remember Tracy from that class, and it's still one of my favorite stories to tell.
Awesome. Person I interviewed yesterday, and I'm just sharing this because I think you'll think it's humorous. The agent came from the gym to show a house and got there a little bit early. So she changed from her gym clothes to her, real estate outfit on the front porch or back porch or something. And there was a camera. She didn't know it. So, yeah.
These ring can't, it's a good thing that YouTube and Facebook didn't exist when I was in high school. I'd probably still be in jail. I'm not sure if I should talk about any of it because I'm not sure the statute of limitations.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. All right, Brian, this is the fun part of the interview. Finish these song lyrics. I picked this out just for you. So,
gosh.
All right, here we go.
Just remember that even though I'm a DJ, I didn't know the words very well.
Here it.
When I got the notion to pack my bags and head out for the ocean.
A little bit more. I'm trying to get to the main part.
I can already tell you. Myrtle Beach days, we'll have some fun in the waves.
Yep, Myrtle Beach days, fantastic shakers. You probably
Yes,
know
sir.
why I picked that out for you.
I do.
Yeah, awesome. So you get 2 points.
All right,
points on
very
that.
good.
Awesome. All right, next question. Mary Ann or Ginger?
Whoa.
I know, that's a deep one. I'm not kidding. There, a lot of guys have to think about that.
I think Mary Ann is less high maintenance, so I'll go that way.
Yeah, it's funny, man. Everybody's picking Mary Ann. Tell me something about you that people don't know. Do you have any weird talents or anything like that people don't know?
Probably the thing that I'm known for the most. I have a 2.5 octave range whistling.
Oh wow!
If you've ever heard the song "Whistle While You Work," I will literally whistle and not realize that I'm doing it. And I got started with it years ago. When I was little, my daddy would whistle for me. And so when I was about 4 years old, I wanted to learn how to whistle. And so I ended up, it's kind of funny. It's amazing what happens when you drink beer in college, but we created a whistling quartet and we would actually whistle. But I have a 2.5 octave range. So I can get very high and people people that are around me when I hit the high notes are like, stop, because it really, I've been
Breaking
accused
glasses.
of being able to shatter glass before. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, you can't bring that up without, not the high. Don't do the high one, but give the listeners just a little
There's
sample.
no way I'm going to be able to do this now that I'm grinning. So,
oh,
anyway, you get the
that
idea.
is awesome. Yeah, that was good on the spot. And after you talked about size doesn't matter too.
That's right. There you go.
Trying to hold it all together. All right, last silly question. If you were a color in a crayon box, which color would you be and why?
You know, I've been asked this question before, and I would be the chameleon color, because I am the one that I can adapt to fit other people. I love being in groups of people. I'm very social, and I enjoy being in, especially smaller groups. When I was working, I would have small groups, and when I was managing, I would have groups of 7 to 10 people at a time in the coaching sessions that I would do. And I think that's where the best work is done. But you have to be able to adapt to people. And as an instructor, we have to adapt teaching style of the new 35 or 50 people that are in the classroom with us or online with the class. And so I've learned to, part of what we do in sales, and the way we were taught back in the 80s and 90s in sales, is find a common ground with people. And I've been fortunate enough to travel to a lot of places. I've played a lot of sports. I played football, soccer, baseball, basketball, and ran track when I was in high school. So I was an athlete, but I was also the band geek. My mother was my band director, and one of my famous stories with her being my band director, she threw me out of class one day. But I grew up in a very musical family. So when we were at home, Dad would come home every Tuesday from the record store with a new album, and we would sit down and listen to the album instead of watching TV. So I grew up, I was an only child, so I'm the epitome of the only child. I like a lot of attention. I'm spoiled rotten, and I've enjoyed every moment of it. And it's cost me early on in my career because I just expected things to happen for me because I wanted them to. But it's amazing how your life experiences change you and how you adapt to those life experiences. And in the first 12 years of my life, I went to 13 different schools. So I became very adaptable in those days. And having gone to school halfway across the country at Oklahoma, I adapted there, and I moved out and moved to Raleigh on my own when I was 19. So, I've always been the person that could walk into a room and find common ground. And so that's the crayon in the box analogy for me.
Awesome. Well, Brian, thank you so much for your time, all the gold nuggets. How could the listeners, if they wanted to learn more about your educational seminars or if you do some coaching, how could they find out more about that and give you some likes? You've given them some value. Maybe if you got some Facebook pages or whatever, where can they find all this stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you're a real estate licensee looking for continuing education courses, the website is brianpateseminars with an S.com. And that's Brian, in the words of my father, with an I, the way God meant for it to be spelled. But it's brianpateseminars.com. And we've got sponsors for most of our classes that enable you to take the class for only $35 versus the regular fees that I normally charge is $60 per class. So it's a steep discount. So you can get both your general update, your BIC up. My two most popular classes right now, I'm known for the secrets of residential investing because I am an investor. I show you how to build your portfolio over time as a realtor and grow that business. And we also have a lot of people from the general public that will attend those classes. And then the other one that I'm teaching right now that's very popular is Cons, Scams, and Hacks, which is showing you all the different ways that the evil doers out there are stealing money in the real estate transaction because it's such an easy target. So brianpateseminars.com, and then just click on real estate classes. And then if you're a buyer or a seller that wants some information or you want somebody to bounce some ideas off of from outside of your market, You can find me on my website at paterealty.com. And for those of you that want to follow information, I'm on all of the social media sites. I'm on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, and as of 6 weeks ago, TikTok.
TikTok. Oh man, what's your TikTok? I'm on it now too.
Yeah, my TikTok is at BP8 Realty, and it's the same for Snapchat and Instagram. And then on Facebook, I've got a former students mastermind group that I only give that out to students that have actually taken my courses. But I'm easy to find. If you just Google Brian Pate Realtor, I'm about the first 4 pages of information on there, so you can find me. Then you can also check out our YouTube channel. That's where I do a lot of my statistical analysis and things like that. So it's amazing to see the far outreaches that you get with social media.
Awesome. One more time, the TikTok, because I'm actually, as soon as I get off here, what is it?
TikTok is at BP8 Realty.
Number 8 or number 8?
The letters BP, like Brian Pate, and then the number 8, Realty, Realty. And it's the same for TikTok and Instagram and Snapchat. Those are all the same.
Awesome. I know some people out there going, TikTok, that's for teenagers. And I thought it too. But I listened to Gary Vee, and man, I tell you, I've done a couple on there, and then you can download them. And it's got a powerful little editing tool on it.
It does.
And you can make a funny little video and get your point across. Like you can, if you're trying to say something even educational, and you can do it in a funny way. And man, I load those things up even to Facebook. And I mean, they have like 100, 200 likes, it's entertaining. People like it.
It's when you go share them across the different platforms, and you share the TikTok, because I share mine typically to Instagram or Facebook. And when you put them out there, it's literally, I've got one video that I found the other day of a little boy talking to his father about assets and liabilities and real estate and commercial and residential. And the thing went viral. It's got almost 250,000 likes, almost 100,000 shares on it. So it's just an outstanding video. You never know what you're going to run into. So you never know when to go viral these days.
That's no kidding. All right, so they can get in touch with you at brianpateseminars.com.
brianpateseminars.com or paterealty.com. Those are the main websites. Just like I said, just Google Brian Pate Realtor, and you'll find me all over the place.
Awesome, brother. Well, thank you for your time, and I know all the listeners love it. Thanks a lot, Brian.
All good. Thank you, buddy.
You've been listening to the Successful Real Estate Broker Podcast with your host, Preston Sandlin. Join us on the next episode, where we'll be talking to a successful agent or vendor about the right things to do and the wrong things you should avoid. Join us on the next episode of the Successful Real Estate Broker Podcast.